Do you have anything to say about the minor characters? You know, your Qui-Gons, Yodas.
Fuck Qui-Gon. I like Yoda better as a goofy little green goblin. Count Dooku didn't get enough screen time because, again, Christopher Lee was fucking wasted. I have no idea who the fuck Mace Windu is. And fuck Jar Jar Binks! I hate Jar Jar Binks so fucking much.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm considering becoming a Sith Lord.
And this week, we return to the galaxy far, far away as we watch the Star Wars prequels. Before we get coarse, rough sand everywhere, remember you can help us on Mortified Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Hey, buddy.
A long, long time ago, in this galaxy, we watched the Star Wars original trilogy. That was back in March, I want to say. And, sure. You know, it seemed like you enjoyed them a reasonable amount. And I'm wondering, now that we have completed the first 6, how you are feeling about your Star Wars fandom.
I will say this set was a bunch of thinkers. These movies, they're thinkers. I think I would call myself a fan. I think before I was a casual enjoyer, and now I'm invested. That in the same way that I think any modern fan is invested in anything, which is to say that I kind of hate parts of it.
See, that's how you know you're a real Star Wars fan, is if you don't like it.
Yeah, I really like what it's trying to do, but I don't like how it's doing it.
So there's a podcast that I've probably shouted out before called A More Civilized Age, which is a lot of folks from Waypoint Radio talking about the Star Wars, Clone Wars, specifically the CG series. But you know, I'll be drawing a lot of insights from them, but I think they sum it up the best when they say that the reward for watching the Star Wars prequels is getting to think about the Star Wars prequels. Because they do, like you said, have a lot of interesting stuff going on. They just don't do it that well.
Yeah, we'll get into it. You wanna just get into it?
Yeah, Leyla, do you want to summarize briefly the 3 movies that we watched?
Sure. So, just like overall, the Star Wars prequels are the origin story of Darth Vader. So they center around Luke and Leia's dad, Anakin Skywalker, the seminal builder of C-3PO, my least favorite droid of all time. And so in the first movie, we meet Anakin as a little boy, and he's like a star pilot on Tatooine, and he's a slave along with his mom to the Hutts. Or not to the Hutts, to Watto is the slaver's name. And he gets pulled out of that because he has a really high concentration of midi-chlorians and is maybe the chosen one to balance the Force. He gets wagered upon and thus taken out of slavery by Qui-Gon, who is Obi-Wan's mentor. In the second movie, we see a 19-year-old Hayden Christensen now playing Anakin Skywalker. And it's more about the build-up to this war between the Republic and the Trade Federation. And it has a lot more to do with Padme, who is played by Natalie Portman in both films, and she was in the first one too, but she starts out as the Queen of Naboo and then becomes the Senator for Naboo because the Queen is democratically elected there. And she hit her term limit, which I thought was really funny.
Can't believe they term limited Padme. God.
Term limited Queen
This
Padme.
is why democracy dies.
To thunderous applause. And then There's also Chancellor Palpatine, who, if you're like, Palpatine, that's ringing bells. Yep, that's one. That's the one. That's the Palpatine. And he is the poorly disguised Darth Sidious, who, if you, like, look at his chin at all, it's just, it's just Darth Sidious. And he's befriending young Anakin. And then in the third movie, there's this conflict between the Trade Federation and the Republic. And they refer to the people who side with the Trade Federation as the Separatists. And in this war, Anakin is now having the same nightmares he was having in the second movie about his mother dying. And his mother did die because Padme is pregnant and he sees her dying in childbirth. And so, God, the third movie's hard to summarize because I found it kind of boring, but basically the Jedi Council has Anakin spy on Palpatine. Palpatine has Anakin spy on the Jedi Council. Anakin's faith is tested, and he ends up becoming Darth Sidious / Palpatine's apprentice, Darth Vader, in order to save Padme. Padme dies anyway. So those are the three films, basically.
Yeah, no,
I do a good job.
You did a great job.
Great.
You know, there's a lot of heavy lore and world building and names in these first three, the prequel movies. So I think you did an admirable job. As for the characters, let's actually save young Skywalker for our last, because I think we're gonna have the most to talk about.
I was literally gonna ask you to save him, so I'm glad you read my mind.
Yeah. Let's talk about his mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We got a bit of him in the original trilogy as Ben Kenobi, you know, Luke's mentor and spirit guardian. How did you feel about Ewan McGregor's portrayal of this character?
I think he did a good job. I enjoyed Ben Kenobi or Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I did hate the rat tail. That was terrible. And I thought he did a really good job. He was doing his best with the material, which was trying. And I liked his performance. Though all of the characters in these films, in my opinion, have like really inconsistent behavior sometimes. I think Padme is kind of the worst. Anakin's second worst. Obi-Wan is like consistent, but the movie can't decide if he's like a dad or if he's like a cool dad. So it's just kind of, he's doing his best with it, but I thought he really shined in the third one, especially against General Grievous.
Yes, I think Ewan McGregor is, you know, just an absolute hero for working through these three movies. And I think he had a lot of fun if you know, dig deep into the back, you know, the behind the scenes stuff. Like he genuinely enjoys doing Star Wars and getting to be like a Jedi Knight. So I'm glad that of all of them, I feel like Ewan McGregor probably had the most fun in these films.
Yeah, though anytime anybody says Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is why I'll probably keep calling him Ben Kenobi, anytime anybody says Obi-Wan, I just think of that Carrie Fisher tweet that's just like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whoever the fuck you are, you're my only hoe.
Mm-hmm.
It's all I can think about, so I have to call him Ben Kenobi if I want to take him seriously.
Great, good.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the senator from Naboo, Padme?
She was really cool in the first two movies, and the third movie, her only job was to be, like, soft and pregnant, so.
Basically does jack shit in the third one, which is very unfortunate, especially when you compare her to Leia, right, her daughter, because if you remember from our last episode, Leia was your favorite character out in the entire franchise, and I suspect probably still is.
My angel Leia, absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like Luke takes after his mom more and Leia takes after Anakin a little bit more. We can get into that later, but yeah, Padme had some good shit in the first movie where she was just like, I really liked that she was her own handmaiden, like the actual queen, Keira Knightley, was like a distraction, and she was running around as a handmaiden, just like doing cool shit. I like that she's constantly disappointed. That's really fun. That's a fun character moment. She's just constantly muttering. She's like, this is so fucking dumb. These Jedi, fucking Jedi. What the hell?
I'm the only competent person here. Yeah, big move.
She is. And I thought her best character moment was when Anakin couldn't go after Obi-Wan to go help Obi-Wan, and he was captured. And Padme was like, okay, well, your job is to protect me, and I'm going to go help Ben Kenobi. So, like, I think you're supposed to come with me then. So, yeah, I really love Padme, but she did get super shafted in the third one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge waste. I mean, that is a thing that happens in these movies, is that they get these incredible actors and then absolutely squander them. It's really sad.
Well, some of them are incredible.
I mean, yes, I'm talking about Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, fucking, God, who plays Count Dooku?
Christopher Lee.
Of course, yes, Christopher Lee. I mean, like, that dude is, like, been an actor his whole goddamn life, and he does an incredible job for the material he's given to, and they kill him within the first, like, 20 minutes of the third movie. It's just like, why? Why would you do this?
Well, I mean, they also have Ian McDermott giving, like, if you want to talk about, we can just talk about Palpatine now.
Yeah, this is our next transition.
Ian McDermott, I cannot remember who was talking about this performance, but I think it was Jenny Nicholson talking about Star Wars Episode 9 when he returns as Palpatine, and she's just like, he is giving the hammiest performance. Like, he is having a blast. And, like, that's what's fun to watch in these movies, is, like, Ian McDermott and occasionally Ewan McGregor just, like, hamming it up, because these are just, like, goofy space operas. Like, yes, like, they have some serious stuff they get at, but, like, these are space wizards. Have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, Palpatine is such an interesting figure because, like, he's just, like, a straight up, like, bad, big bad guy who's sort of pulling all the strings. But, like, if you even take, like, 5 seconds to try to figure out what his plan was, it's complete nonsense. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it's like that TikTok you sent me, or is it you? About, like, the plan to assassinate Padme in the first movie, or in the second movie, and how many fucking layers it has?
Yes, I'll link the TikTok, but basically it's like, okay, so Palpatine wants to assassinate Padme, but he doesn't want to do it himself. So he sends, fucking Count Dooku to do it. But Count Dooku doesn't want to do it himself. So he sends Jango Fett to do it. But Jango Fett doesn't want to do it himself. So he sends another bounty hunter. But that bounty hunter doesn't want to do it herself. So he sends a droid. But that droid doesn't want to do it herself. So the droid sends a pair of centipedes to do it. God, people shit on the second movie, but I think it's actually really good.
I really like the second movie. And then, like, if you think about the plot of the first movie for 5 seconds, the entire thing is they need to kidnap Padme to make an invasion legal. What the? It's an invasion! What the fuck are you talking about? She needs to sign a treaty to make it legal. What?
It's really dumb. Listen, I don't understand the logistics of the first movie at all. I just remember that Windows XP-ass battlefield, and I was like, I'm sold. I like this.
And that color palette comes back on Naboo in the second movie during their little love montage.
Yeah, it's a very green planet with rolling hills that are featureless.
With really blue Windows XP skies.
Yeah, it rules. Do you have anything to say about the minor characters? Your Qui-Gons, Yodas?
Fuck Qui-Gon. I like Yoda better as a goofy little green goblin. Count Dooku didn't get enough screen time because, again, Christopher Lee was fucking wasted. I have no idea who the fuck Mace Windu is. And fuck Jar Jar Binks! I hate Jar Jar Binks so fucking much. I went into these movies an innocent little lamb, and I was like, guys, there's no way he's that bad. I hear a lot of goof bad talk about Jar Jar. Everyone hates, it's kind of a meme to hate Jar Jar Binks. And I was like, nah. Not to cite Jenny Nicholson twice in one fucking podcast, but when she was talking about The Land Before Time and how Petrie is never allowed to outgrow his cowardice and it makes him an incredibly frustrating character to watch, that Jar Jar Binks is like that to the nth degree. Like, when I have never been more anxious than when Jar Jar Binks was working on baby Anakin's pod racer. I was like, who is he told you he got fucking kicked out of a city because he's quote unquote clumsy and you're letting him near a child's pod racer? I hate Jar Jar Binks. I can't even, that's all I need to say, but I can't. I hate him.
My favorite thing about Jar Jar Binks, besides the Darth Jar Jar theory that our good friend and listener Max likes to Leyla, is that Jar Jar is actually pivotal in the destruction of the Republic, because he becomes like a stand-in when Padme takes her like pregnancy leave. He gets like her voting powers in the Senate, and Palpatine basically tricks him into using her vote to authorize the creation of the Republic's clone army, which is very funny because they introduce Padme in that movie as being a part of a coalition that explicitly does not want the Republic to have an army. So Jar Jar is like actually one of the worst people in the Star Wars galaxy.
Oh my god, he's also just insufferable to watch. I hate Jar Jar Binks.
And here's the thing, Ahmed Best, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, like, gets a lot of hate for playing that character, but it is absolutely not his fault. Ahmed Best he knew exactly what Lucas wanted out of that performance, and unfortunately, like, that's all George just being like, yeah, no, this is a show for kids, so we got to be incredibly silly and stupid and talk like a weird, bad person, and it sucks.
Again, the performance was great. It's just like you said. It's exactly what Mr. Lucas wanted. The problem is that Mr. Lucas wanted something terrible that should have never been inflicted on the fucking world.
Speaking of something terrible that should never be inflicted on the world, let's talk about Anakin Skywalker. Leyla, you are notoriously, in our last episode, you made the claim and drew several charts to support the claim that Darth Vader was, quote, shaped like a friend. Mm-hmm. Would you now, following up, claim that Anakin Skywalker is shaped like a friend?
The Darth Vader mask and costume remains friend-shaped. Round and friendly. Absolutely. Even the triangles on the Darth Vader mask are rounded. Yes, I stand by that. Is Anakin Skywalker, the man underneath the mask, friend-shaped? Anakin Skywalker is bastard-shaped, is what he is.
Shaped like an incel.
Shaped... He's like sand. He is coarse and rough, and he gets everywhere.
All right, yeah, so, poor Jake Lloyd and poor Hayden Christensen, probably some of the most maligned actors in American cinema history, did unfortunately play Anakin Skywalker, and, listen, nobody delivers their lines incredibly in this franchise. Christensen was a young actor at the time, so, he struggled a little bit, but, like, again, I really want to not, put hate on the actors because they were just given the worst shit to say, and there was not a Harrison Ford around to be like, I'm not doing this, George. What are you talking about?
That's the problem, isn't it? That the thing, they're doing their best. Like, listen, Mr. Christensen, I think you did fine. It was fine. It was... You did... The problem is that Anakin Skywalker's 3 fucking characters. There is no consistent characterization for Anakin or Padme. Ever. At all. So, he has to be JD from Heathers, and he has to be a cool pilot, and he has to be this, like, big romantic hero. And he can't be all 3 of those things, because those are 3 different ideas. So, he's doing his best. The problem is also that he is getting the I don't want to call them the shittiest, they're iconic, the wildest fucking lines I have ever heard spoken in a piece of mass market cinema.
Yeah, the prequels have become, memed to death because of some of the words that they say. Were there any lines that particularly stood out to you? Because, like, I'll defend the fucking, this is how democracy dies with thunderous applause. Like, that's one of my favorite lines in Star Wars. I think that rules.
I like that line. I hate the context it's set in.
The context it's set in is bad because, again, they just sort of throw Natalie Portman in there and be like, oh, we forgot about her. Oops.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, the context sucks, but the line itself is really good. Let's see. Let's scroll through my notes, which I'm sure Aaron was having they've become increasingly unhinged.
Yeah, you just wrote a fan fiction in the third one.
Yeah, I just don't like the endings of any of the 3 trilogies, apparently. I guess I didn't quote anything, huh? I mean, the sand line is just kind of like infamously funny. Power, unlimited power, wild. A wild thing to say out loud. It's just, the dialogue is sometimes just stilted, you know?
A little bit, but
It's
again...
just a little stilted.
Yeah, it's just... Oh, and Anakin did his best, but I think you're right in that he is characterized in such a way as that, like, he cannot be... We know where his arc ends, like, so he does have to have this inevitable decline, but we also have to sort of like him. And the thing about these movies is that there is an alternate universe, the good timeline, in which, like, we get this struggle between, Anakin being like, the Jedi are supposed to be paragons of justice and peace, but when he actually joins them, he sees that the Council is, like, unwilling to, like, actually help and end slavery or other actual injustices in the galaxy. And, like, that their unwillingness to actually do anything in the Republic's ineffectual, status is somehow what eventually turns him to be, Darth Vader, because he genuinely thinks he's doing good. Instead we almost, I mean, that's the thing, they almost get there.
God, they're
but also
so close.
He does just massacre just like a ton of kids and also indigenous Tatooine Tusken Raiders, so...
God, they're so close. They're so close to the point, right? Because, okay, it starts kind of going downhill when... So Anakin's mom, right? They couldn't, for some godforsaken reason, they couldn't free her as well, right? Like, Qui-Gon, in all his wisdom, for some reason, couldn't also figure out how to make enough money for the mom, couldn't promise to come back for the mom, couldn't just, hey, fucking take the mom. Because guess what? The last time they saw the mom was in was not in Watto's shop. It was in her house. She's not shackled or guarded. Take her and C-3PO and fucking go.
So they explain, they do say that, like, oh yeah, they put a tracker in your skin. Here's the thing, is that Qui-Gon Jinn's a fucking space wizard. If he wanted to get that out, he absolutely could have. Like, it's, it's so stupid that they don't just, like, he doesn't just, like, hey, Watto, I have a laser sword. I'm taking this woman. Bye.
I don't see a universe in which you don't sit Shmi Skywalker down, and at the rate that people are losing their fucking hands in this movie, go, hey, can I make a tiny incision in your skin to pull this fucking chip out? Or at worst, hey, can I just force pull this chip out through your skin? I don't see a universe in which Shmi Skywalker wouldn't be like, yeah. Free me. Like, let me go be with my son while he Jedi trains, Mm-hmm. But instead they leave her on Tatooine, and it's only ever brought up again in the context of Anakin has nightmares about Shmi dying, which she does die, she's captured by raiders, and then he starts having these nightmares about Padme dying in childbirth, and instead of using his mother's death as an anchor into the fact that the Jedi aren't actually doing good on the scale that they think they're doing good, and that he can't trust the Jedi with the Padme thing, he has to go elsewhere for the Padme thing. They don't use that as an anchor at all. It just becomes this, like, well, I had dreams about my mom dying, so, like, now I have dreams about you dying, so obviously that's going to come true too. And it's just like, yeah, you're this close to the point, and you're just letting it go.
Like, that's the thing, though. Like, they do spend a lot more time with Anakin and Palpatine having these conversations, but I don't think it's enough. They don't contrast Palpatine being like, okay, here's the thing, I'm a Sith Lord, I have these abilities and powers, I can actually help save your wife. I mean, they tried to get that, but they never show it. Palpatine's never like, hey, let me just, stop this person from dying. I have that magic power. He never manifests it. And, like, we never see the Jedi, like, openly be like, okay, actually, we care more about the war than actually ending injustice. And, like, we don't see Obi-Wan, like, try to reach out and, like, realize that, like, Anakin, it has a point when he confronts the Jedi Council and is like, hey, these things are a problem. Like, it just almost goes up there. They're like 10 feet away from the touchdown line, and then they're just like, let's go do something completely different.
Right, and the Obi-Wan thing you mentioned, too, is interesting because, like, Anakin isn't dangerous in the eyes of the Jedi Council because he's too powerful. Anakin is dangerous in the eyes of the Jedi Council because he's unpredictable. He's a little bit chaotic. So, like, when Qui-Gon brings him around, they're like, hey, we can't see his future and he's really strong, so, like, that's spooky to us. But in the third movie, I think part of the reason the Palpatine thing falls flat is because no one is taking advantage of Anakin as a Chaos agent. And the Obi-Wan thing you just brought up is relevant because what would be worse than Obi-Wan coming to the council going, actually, I think he's right. Like, what are we doing? And then being like, not only is he unpredictable on his own terms, but he's corrupting you. Right? Mm-hmm. So Palpatine trusts him and he's corrupting you. And that would be more of a tension. But, like, Anakin's relationship with the Jedi Council and with Obi-Wan is never established enough in a positive light. Like, it's shown kind of positive, but everything Anakin says makes Obi-Wan sound like a nagging dad. So then Palpatine doesn't really have enough, like, there's not enough of, like, a contrast for Palpatine's whole thing to be effective. Like, it's all just very, like you said, like 10 feet away. It's like right there. Like, if you would just 3 more steps and you would get it. But it's so close, it's frustrating.
And that's why they have these extra, like, Clone Wars series, like both the Tartakovskys and the one done by Dave Filoni. Jesus. But, like, they have these series that try to fill that out because, like, they never actually show enough in the shows and in the movies. And it's just like, if only the movies had actually done the thing, they'd be good movies.
Well, that's why I found, like, Knights of the Old Republic 2 so interesting is because as I was watching Anakin in these movies, I was like, oh, I get why Knights of the Old Republic happened now, because Knights of the Old Republic does what I think the prequels were, like, kind of trying to get at, which is that you have a protagonist that is powerful and sees the fault in the Jedi Order, specifically Knights of the Old Republic 2. One is, like, it's like a lot of forceful lobotomy shit, which is wild.
But, you were Darth Vader the whole time. Surprise!
Surprise! And now you get to deal with the fact that you were forcefully lobotomized and either evil or good in the eyes of the Jedi Order. But, you know, whatever. But in Knights of the Old Republic 2, you have the exile who was exiled because they did something so destructive on such a massive scale that their connection to the Force was just, like, severed, and now they're a Force void, basically. And so the Jedi are afraid of that, and they sent them away. But the interesting thing about the way KOTOR 2 is structured is that you still get to choose how you use your kind of, like, slowly rebuilding link to the Force, and if how you kind of guide your team of misfits. And the thing is that the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force, it's when you're making moral decisions in the moment, sometimes the dark side things are the quote-unquote right thing to do, right? The violent thing to do, the passionate thing to do. And it's just interesting because it feels like that's the direction Anakin should have maybe gone in. Like, even if he was Darth Vader, maybe giving him an opportunity to be like, hey, I want to use this power to help people in like a chaotic good kind of way. But then, you know, misconstruing it or whatever. There's a lot of directions this could have gone in, but it just having him pivot to evil and then Padme dying and going like, there's still some good in him. I know it. It's just stupid, you know. It's so heavy-handed for like the genuinely good points these movies almost made.
Yes, they would have made. I think they would have made a lot better points if they didn't have to have an unnecessary action sequence that lasted between 30 and 40 minutes in each film.
I skipped through parts of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely fair. But let's talk about them anyway. How do you think the CG held up? Like, how did you think the appearance of these films was? I mean, they're over 20 years old for some of them at this point. So how did you feel about them?
I really miss the practicals. I really find practicals charming. But that being said, the first one was fine. It held up fine. The second one held up fine. There was some like really obvious green screen stuff. The third one was funny because it is like the early 2000s are where CGI like really started taking leaps and bounds. And so the quality between 2 and 3 is like such a fucking leap. And like General Grievous is entirely CGI. He looks great.
He looks awesome, yeah.
He looks dope as hell. Yeah, 4 lightsabers, fuck me up. That's dope. I love that shit. His action sequence was really cool. The fight with Grievous.
Grievous, again, criminally underused. I think he rules. But yeah, like...
Who plays him?
Oh, I don't know who the voice actor for Grievous is.
Hey, Google. A Kirby Morrow at one point played him. The same voice actor as Moroku from Inuyasha.
Oh. Matthew Russell Wood. He's had several in his various incarnations. But yeah. Yeah, no, Grievous is a very interesting character, and like I do think that you're right. Like I like the third one a lot better because the CGI does just take such a huge improvement. But like there's a lot of interesting stuff just like visually in these movies. Like I think the costumes are all really neat. Like in episodes, 4 through 6, like they're all just sort of like, dusty, and like you can tell they're like rebels. Like only Leia really has like nice clothes. Like everybody else is either wearing armor or just like whatever clothes they could find because they're in like this fight for their lives, scrapping against the big empire. But like all of Padme's outfits are just really, really cool. I feel just extravagant and stupid, and I love them so much.
Yeah, no, Padme has some looks. Though, I mean, you read my notes. I do disagree with the way she was dressed in the love sequence on Naboo, because those are fuck me outfits. And her outfits are saying fuck me, and her mouth is saying, no, Anakin, we can't. Which I'm like, y'all, you're, again, so close.
Mm-hmm.
So close to it, but you just didn't. And also, they dressed Anakin like a mall goth, which I thought was very funny.
I really want the version of the of this prequels where Padme just comes out in like sweatpants and a hoodie constantly when she's hanging out with Anakin. She's like, "Hey, what's up, Annie?"
Sweatpants and a hoodie, or just like a morph suit. just T-posing. Yeah, I mean, like, I really like, there's a couple outfits that I thought were really great, but like leather corset and leather skirt is a hard thing to wear when you're trying to be like, Anakin, we would ruin our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this is the most cleavage I've ever shown.
Yeah, it's a little much, but I just the prequels are. They are my Star Wars in many ways because like I wasn't old enough to, of course, watch the original Star Wars, and like these came out when I was exactly in the right age range to watch Star Wars. Like I saw 2 and 3 in theaters, and I was psyched about them, and I didn't care about all the boring stuff because I was very young at the time, and like. They're just sequences like that arena sequence I'd watch over and over again because I liked the big battles and I liked the fucking Acolyte, which is the green crab monster. That's still one of my favorite Star Wars monsters of all time. I just love that dude. I just think that the prequels are so interesting because they are so, divisive, but like they do very much say something. And like there's been this renaissance, right, that talk about like whether or not the prequels, were actually, unfairly maligned. And like, do you think that the prequels were good, actually?
I hate to say it, I absolutely do. I think they're good. I mean, like, listen, hey, friend, they're not like good. Like, if you're gonna sit someone down and be like, hey, I really want you to watch this movie, it probably shouldn't be Star Wars Episodes 1 through 3. However, if you're trying to get somebody to have a think about the Star Wars universe and they're already kind of invested and you're like, hey, I know you've heard some shit about the prequels, but I think you should actually watch them because they're actually not as bad as people say. They're actually fine and interesting and they almost have a point. Then yeah, I think
I think that's just the way that everybody in your life has pitched the prequels to you after you watch the original trilogy, because I think that's that's pretty accurate.
most people who've preached the prequels to me say, hey, they're a mess, but Padme's hot. And I'm like, great.
I mean, they're not wrong, but I think there's more to it than just Natalie Portman.
Not to me.
That's okay. That's valid. But yeah, well, I mean, we talked.
No, it's Natalie Portman and Ian McDiarmid. Sorry, go ahead.
There we go. Yeah, but like we were saying, that the Jedi are, instead of like being these noble heroes that Lucas told in the first 3 movies, like they're actually kind of shitty cops. And like the whole conversation about like what democracy does in the face of creeping authoritarianism, and how like, these half measures, and depending on the, inherent goodness of others is not enough to save a democratic state. And then Anakin's arc, just generally, like we talked about earlier, like how somebody can be morally compromised and still want to do the right thing, and end up in a conflicting web of like trying to do the right thing, even though the things that he cares about and the things he's been taught his whole life are actually bad, like trying to figure out who, whether or not the Jedi are actually evil, or whether or not he's just trying to save his wife because he's been, seeing these visions, but also like he's also been taught some really fucked up shit by the Jedi, so it's hard to tell how he should actually feel about compassion and love. So, he doesn't know, but I do think that the prequels are super interesting, and I do wish that, the memes are all well and good, but I do wish that people would try to take them more on their, intellectual merits. I mean, that sounds pretentious, but I do genuinely mean it. Like, the idea that you have a government that creates a whole, essentially, race of people to serve only as soldiers is so fascinating. And I mean, it's certainly disturbing, but like, I would love to see a Star Wars that dealt with the implications of that. Like, I know in theory they're supposed to be the stormtroopers, but like, not all the clones, are stormtroopers at the end. Like, the stormtroopers went away at some point. Like, what happens to all the clones who are still just like hanging around? Like, I think that's such a fun premise.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing about Star Wars in like general, is it, in creating these space operas, there is this tendency to railroad through a bunch of really interesting stuff and then leave the interesting stuff for like side properties to pick up on. But that therein lies the problem with Star Wars as a just like generally a media entity, right? Because the reason I never got into it was because there's just too much and you don't know where to start. And everyone has different opinions on where you should start and different opinions on why the thing is enjoyable. But it's just like getting to the interesting stuff requires waddling through a lot of chuff,
Now that we've fully expanded upon the lore of the first 6 movies, Leyla, how would you rank them in terms of your enjoyment from least to most?
From least to most, okay. You're gonna make me do it backwards. Okay, I hated.
You can do it the regular way.
No, you already prompted me. It's too late. I'm already arranging them in my brain. Okay, so I liked the third one the least. I found it kind of boring. I thought that it really did the worst job of like throwing away the concepts the first 2 movies were kind of hard to set up. Then my second least favorite is the 6th movie, which is the ending of the first trilogy, for similar reasons. It just kind of recycled the plot of the first movie, or the first Luke Skywalker movie.
Yes.
And then following that, I think episode 1 following that, like, it was fine. I liked it. But I didn't like it as much as episode 5, which is the second movie in the Luke Skywalker trilogy. I think that's when we got into like Han Solo and Leia got to do more stuff. That was really fun. Following that is episode 2, which I think was my favorite in this trilogy, just because similar reasons. Like, Padme gets stuff to do. We do the most exploring of Anakin's relationship with the Jedi Order. And then my favorite movie is still 4, because I love dumbass Luke Skywalker.
I think that's extremely fair.
Now, why did you call my ranking a galaxy brain take, is my question, if I know.
Just because in the popular consciousness, the second movie is the movie that most people hate, like, the most out of all of them. Because of the love sequence, because of that interminable, droid factory action battle sequence, because of the bad dialogue. I'm just so pleased that you found enough interest in the ideas that movie was that you were able to, see past all of that and be like, there's something here. Because also, like, that's probably the Star Wars movie I've watched the most, actually, is Episode 2, just because I had it on DVD when I was, 8 or 9 years old, and I just watched it constantly. So I'm very pleased to hear that there is a number 2 defender out there.
Yeah, I mean, I just like I said in my notes a couple of times, but I think the fact that my introduction to the Star Wars franchise was Knights of the Old Republic 2 has, like, permanently broken my brain.
Listen, KOTOR is good, and I think in many ways is, better than the movies. So definitely please check out those games. They're not expensive.
Well, maybe only check them out if you're familiar with the concept of modding, because they are old and kind of unplayable.
That is also true. Leyla, if you
Aaron.
were...
Oh, boy.
If you were to try to, perhaps, in a minute, market to someone, perhaps the 2022 audience, a reboot or a remake of the Star Wars prequel franchise, how do you think you would go about that? I mean, you already rewrote number 3, so, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just wondering what changes you think you should make if you were trying to redo these movies and send them over to a new audience.
Oh my god. Okay, well, here's the thing. I don't think we should redo them. That's partially because I don't think that remakes are good. I'm tired of remakes. I don't want any more remakes, just, like, generally speaking. But also, I think it's bad if Star Wars has too much veneer on it. Like, I think the reason I don't like the new trilogy, which I have seen 7 and 8, I think the reason I don't like it is because it's too visually polished for the fact that it's like a space opera about space wizards. So I like that the original the prequel trilogy doesn't take itself very seriously. I think it goes well with the original trilogy in the sense that the original trilogy was throwing around party city masks for some of these aliens. So if we were to market the original trilogy, oh my god, well, okay, well, like, this is quite a thinker you've bestowed upon me. What do we want people to like these movies for their ideas, or because they're kind of goof shit?
It's up to you.
That's a lot of power.
I'll tell you what I think we should do.
Please do.
If I were to reboot the prequel franchise, there would be an ARG at some point, but that's
of course, because there's not a Mortified marketing minute without an ARG.
Listen, it would be great. It'd start with a cereal box and end with some sort of buried treasure in a desert somewhere. It would be great. But I think what I would do with these franchise, I think I would make it into... See, the thing is that Star Wars has already been in Fortnite is the problem. I was thinking I was going to turn them into like a... Listen, Ubisoft is going to turn Assassin's Creed into a live service game. So I was thinking maybe we could just turn Star Wars into one of those, like a Destiny that just like constantly gets new updates and just delivers the narrative through various, shooter missions. I think there's something there. Perhaps like an accompanying Netflix series to help convey the lore more thoroughly. But I think that's something we could do.
Yeah, that is an avenue. Honestly, I think we should release a series of short YouTube videos with the actors today talking about their most iconic scenes. Like a reaction, like a reaction YouTube channel. I want to see Ian McDiarmid sit down and talk about the scene where he's faking dying so that Anakin will feel bad for him and kill the Jedi Master. I wanna know what it was like to lay there on his back with his chin in his neck going, Anakin, I can't hold on much longer. I want that. I want Ian McDiarmid to be like, yeah, that was really fun, actually. That was cool as hell.
That would be genuinely endearing. That's a good time. I like that.
Yeah. This is so hard to market because, like, maybe we just need, like, a Kingdom Hearts style inscrutable action trailer and then, like, a Kingdom Hearts style inscrutable meme line trailer so that people can just, like, get whatever experience they want out of these movies, right? Because the reason, so I don't know if you remember Brave from 2008, the Pixar movie. I didn't like Brave very much when I first watched it because it was marketed completely wrong, right? Like, it was marketed as a, like a mother-daughter adventure, or no, sorry, it was marketed as a adventure movie about, like, changing your fate, but it was actually, like, a mother-daughter story, and that annoyed me because that's not what I went to the movies for that day. Yeah. And I think that the marketing effort for a, let's say, like, a redistribution of the original trilogy in the theaters would have to be a multi-pronged effort to get both the people who want to laugh at these movies and the people who want to think about these movies their butts into these seats, right? So we need the Destiny-style live service game. We need the thoughtful discussions about the lore, but we also need Hayden Christensen talking about his rat tail. You know what I mean? Like, we need all of it. We need literally just like a quadruple prong marketing sphere to get butts into these seats. Because these movies are just, they're so much. They're just like they're like a Christmas store, you know? Like, you just don't know what you're going to get in there. Are you going to get, like, a beautiful snow globe, or are you going to get, like, a Santa nutcracker where you put the nut in his butt, you know? Like, what are you going to get? You don't know. And that's very hard to market.
Oh, God. I think that's actually the most accurate and realistic way that sort of redistribution would have to be wrangled. And again, this is why they should make us Disney executives.
Maybe, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Throw out everything we just said. Just throw out everything we just said.
Never
Ready?
mind.
Fucking scrap all of it. Do what it should be. It should be 30-second spots on TV of people like us sitting down. Why do you like the prequels? One time Hayden Christensen said the sand line that was really good, and then the next ad would just be you going, listen, like, what happens when there's, like, a race of people created just to be soldiers, right? And it cuts you off in the middle of a sentence. And I want, like, a series of ads of just people like us, just, like, live trying to communicate what these movies are. Because they're inscrutable. They're insane.
Just like Anakin did to the Sand People, you've murdered me.
Just picture yourself on TV in, like, the John Oliver void trying to explain the Clone Wars.
Oh, God.
I'd watch that movie.
Oh, God. Leyla, when we're not trying to rehabilitate one of America's most memified movie series, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm really tempted for this one to say we can't, because I feel like I don't want Star Wars people to come after me if they find these podcasts for my incredible ordering of my enjoyment of these films. But you can find me at LEYLSES on Tumblr and Twitter, not Instagram. We're done with Instagram. And I write essays. You can go to my website, LeylaMamadova.com, and you can also talk to me about my webcomic that I'm going to restart in the next couple of months, AstralHeartComic.com. Aaron, where can people find you?
You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL on Twitter. But also, you can listen to the other podcasts I do at The Bible Boys. Hopefully we'll have released a new episode by the time this podcast airs. Who could say? We're all very busy in July. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. Find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how do we say goodbye to the galaxy far, far away?
Monsters out there leaking in here. We saw sinking in no power. I hate Jar Jar so much.
We'll see you all next week.